And what's up, everybody? Thank you once again for joining us today for another edition of Breaking News. We're going to talk a little bit of New Japan today. We have got news of a former TNA Women's Champion retiring from pro wrestling for good. Also, a very, very important day in pro wrestling history, and we are going to cover that and maybe a little bit more right here and right now on the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. So let's do it!
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Alright, everybody, let's get this show started. Thank you so much for joining me once again on the channel today. This is the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show right here on Sledgehammer TV, only available on YouTube.com. Today, I am your host, and every day, I am your host. I am Nick Nightmare. This is my little buddy, Blue the Snowball Microphone, bringing me to you crystal clear and true blue. How about that? And we are here today to talk about what's going on in the news. There's some stuff going on we can talk about, but we're not going to have a really big episode today. We put up our Great Balls of Fire preview and prediction show just earlier this morning, and make sure you guys go check that one out to see what I think is going to go down this Sunday at the worst named pay-per-view in WWE history with the best card that they've probably put together all year. So go check it out, see what I have to say about that. And when you're done with that, make sure you come back and finish this video because we're talking New Japan. We got big news about a TNA knockout retiring from the ring, and I think we're going to start with that. A beautiful, beautiful woman and great friend to the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, Miss Velvet Sky, has decided to hang it up from the world of professional wrestling. She has announced her retirement and that she will be returning to college at Post University in Waterbury, Connecticut in hopes of becoming a personal trainer. In a recent interview, Velvet Sky said that wrestling has a shelf life. College does not. You can be 50 years old and go to college, and you can go get your degree. You cannot be 50 years old and train to become a pro wrestler. She also stated that she's in a really, really good physical condition, and her health is great, and she wants to keep it that way. She has had a satisfying 15-year wrestling career, and she's going back to school because she already got to live out her wrestling dream. Velvet Sky began wrestling back in 2003 and made her TNA debut in 2007 as a member of the Beautiful People. I was a big, big fan. Big fan of TNA back then. Loved the Beautiful People. It was ahead of its time. It was absolutely great. She was picture perfect. Angelina Love, just as good. They made it worth watching just for them. Some nights I watched just to see what the Beautiful People were going to do. During her 10-year run with the promotion, she won the Knockouts Championship twice. She is currently a trainer at the Danbury, Connecticut location of Team 3D Academy and plans to continue training the next generation of aspiring pro wrestlers. I commend her. I want to say thank you to her for how gracious she was to us, giving us that entrance video that we do use sometimes that she filmed for me. And when we did meet her at Eternal Con, which my footage of that is also up on the channel if you want to go take a look at that. She was so nice, man. She was super, super giving. She was very, very free, with the fans. She was not intimidated. She was just a normal, regular person. And she was absolutely fantastic. So I wish her the best in her future. I wish she would have gotten her due and her chance to wrestle for the WWE. She came so far. I've seen her progress from, that green rookie to a really well-seasoned competitor in the ring, and she really did get good. And I thought we would at least get to see her at least one time in the WWE, especially when the Dudleys came back. I was like, well, this is it. We're going to get to see some Velvet Sky, being that they're romantically linked, and you just assumed something like that would happen, but it definitely did not. And that's the only thing maybe to her might stick in her craw. Maybe one day she'll come back just for a run in the WWE, but it's highly unlikely. Thank you, Velvet Sky, for everything you've done in the world of pro wrestling and for the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, personally. And hope there's nothing but great things for her in the future. Let's segue that into today in pro wrestling history. Today in pro wrestling history is a very, very huge day in the world of pro wrestling. July the 7th, 21 years ago today, at the Bash at the Beach pay-per-view, held in Daytona Beach, Florida, by World Championship Wrestling, the wrestling world would be shaken to its core and would never be the same again. As this would be the night that, even though we had a pretty good card featuring the likes of Rey Mysterio Jr., Diamond Dallas Page, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, The Nasty Boys, The Public Enemy, Dean Malenko, Ric Flair, Conan, The Giant, Kevin Sullivan, Arn Anderson, Chris Benoit. What a fucking roster that is. Look at that, huh? It's no wonder that once this little kickstart happened, they had the talent to sustain a viable and great wrestling show. Did you hear all the names I just mentioned? It was fantastic. All gimmick matches that night, but this night would not be about any of those people. This night would be about the outsiders. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, who I also met recently, fantastic guys now. I don't know if they were that good to fans back then, but as of right now, they're gracious and awesome, and I got to meet them. You can see that on the channel as well. And their mystery partner, which we all know the results by now, going up against Team WCW, which consisted of Randy Savage, Sting, and Lex Luger. The conclusion of the match would be the shot heard round the world as Hollywood Hogan would be born, dropping the leg drop on the Macho Man Randy Savage, turning his back on WCW, man. I will never forget where I was when it happened. I will never forget what followed to the day I leave this planet. The New World Order was born, and the wrestling world would never be the same. And that, boys and girls, was what happened 21 years ago today, July the 7th, in pro wrestling history. Boom. And now comes the part where we move on to the main crux of the news that I got today, following the tremendous success of the G1 Climax Special in Long Beach, California this past weekend, which I did watch part 1. We're waiting for them to air part 2 this weekend, and then I'm going to do a whole review of it, because the show was absolutely fantastic. It was so good I can't even say the word fantastic. If you love fucking pro wrestling, and you're sick and tired of the shit that Vince McMahon is trying to do, watch this show. They get it. And they have the talent and the unbelievable matches. Absolutely floored me. This from start to finish. Every guy put on a hell of a match. Cody Rhodes versus Kazuchika Okada for the championship was fucking great. And you need to go and watch it. Find a way to check it out. It was fantastic. But during night 2 of the doubleheader from Long Beach, California, it was announced that New Japan will be returning to the United States next year to do more shows. And that's fantastic. Kidani also said that they would like to tour the United States no later than March or April of 2018. And additionally, there are plans to open an office in Los Angeles and have a dojo for New Japan there as well by early 2018. Are you kidding me? I want them to plant their foot so hard that Vince McMahon feels the shockwaves all the way in Connecticut. I want them to plant their foot so hard that it goes up Vince McMahon's ass and really starts to bring some heat on the WWE. I just simply cannot wait for there to be some real viable competition for Vince. It's gonna have an effect, and it might actually do what our moment from today in pro wrestling history did, because New Japan made history this weekend. They sold out Long Beach, California for the whole weekend. They took over. Monday Night Raw was there in the same spot. And that is no more evident as when fans went absolutely berserk because the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada, spent the past weekend tearing it up in California at the G1 special, but he also decided to make a pit stop at Monday Night Raw. Now, Kazuchika Okada has gone on record many, many times saying that he will never, ever work for the WWE. And that is probably the greatest mindset he can actually have right now, because they would not know what to do with an Okada. Look at how they're already losing the luster on Nakamura. He was a shiny, bright new toy, and they're knocking the shine right off of him by just showing him every single week, not using his character mystique, not building anticipation to see him, but just throwing him at us now because they just think that's what we want, and we're going to get ratings, and we'll just have him wrestle everybody, blow through the roster, wrestle every single person as quickly as he can, and get it over with. That's what's going to happen to Okada as well. But his visit to Monday Night Raw certainly has got the internet buzzing. He could have been there because maybe he wanted a good laugh. Maybe all the good comedy shows were sold out on the Los Angeles Strip. So he said, you know what, I'm going to go get my laughs by watching fucking Monday Night Raw and what they're doing there in the WWE. Maybe that's what he was doing there. Maybe he really was just there to go see his friends. Guys like Finn Balor and the Bullet Club. Maybe he was hanging out with them. And that was the only motivation for him being there. If he even entertains the thought for this much about coming to the WWE, he's out of his mind. Especially with the state of the company as is. The Roman Reigns initiative is fully in effect. And Nakamura and Okada and these guys from New Japan, Kenny Omega, if they came right now, they would only fall prey to that agenda. And wrestling fans everywhere would revolt. It would absolutely be a disaster. So, him being there is not a big deal. What is the big deal is what New Japan did in California this weekend. It was absolutely fantastic. They have already started making plans to come back next year, and I already can't wait. Hopefully this dojo opens up. Dolph Ziggler gets his ass over there. He starts to throw down with the likes of Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega for the United States Championship of the IWGP. That would be fucking fantastic. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. Because Vince has been sitting on top for too long that he's making issues out of things like calling the Money in the Bank briefcase a briefcase. All of a sudden he wants us to look at a giant shiny metal box and call it a contract. When a contract is clearly defined to you and I as a piece of paper. We all know what a contract is. It doesn't look like a giant metal box. It looks like a piece of paper. The giant metal box with the handle is called a briefcase. So what are you going to do? Somebody hits somebody else with the briefcase like Baron Corbin did, and what are you going to do? You're going to call it a contract? Oh, he hit him with the contract. Getting hit in the head with a contract doesn't hurt. Getting hit in the head with a briefcase, that friggin' hurts. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. But that's the bottom line with the WWE. They wouldn't know what to do with these guys at all. So hopefully they stay over there in New Japan and allow New Japan to grow in the States and plant their feet there the way New Japan wants to plant their feet in the U.S. I think the fans showed and proved to everybody with the way the turnout was and how the social media was abuzz and the U.S. fans were just all over it. And if they are not, or if they were not, the WWE, if they weren't paying attention before, which I know they were, they're paying even more attention now. Because New Japan is going to come and karate chop your billionaire ass and take a chunk out of your fan base, and you need to start rallying the troops, and let's get shit together. Let's start producing wrestling shows and stop with this variety show bullshit. Because New Japan proves that it works and that it's what we want. Thank you guys so much once again for tuning in today for this episode of Breaking News. Don't forget to check out all the other great stuff on the channel. I bust my ass making great content for you guys all the time. We got Raw reviews, we got the Eternal Con coverage. We got the Velvet Sky video at the front of some of these things. We put up this morning, like I said, the Great Balls of Fire preview and predictions. We will be back later on this weekend with the Great Balls of Fire review. And hopefully they don't piss me off too much. Thank you once again for joining me. I am Nick Nightmare. This is Blue the Snowball Microphone. You have been watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show right here on Sledgehammer TV. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Get all your friends over here if they like wrestling. Make sure they're watching this too. We are growing fast and furious each and every day, and I thank each and every one of you for that. Don't forget to hit us up in the comments as well. Me and Blue, are out of here. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time right here on the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. Have a good one.